countries that hide the real numbers. From the earliest stages of state formation, numbers were used primarily as a tool of power rather than a means of understanding reality. Population counts, harvest records, tax data, and resource estimates served fiscal and military purposes. What mattered was not accuracy, but whether the data allowed authorities to control territory, collect revenue, and mobilize people. Even at this early stage, figures could be inflated or reduced depending on the interests of those in power. Numbers were meant to demonstrate manageability and obedience, not to reflect how people actually lived. From the very beginning, statistics were embedded in systems of control rather than systems of analysis or self-correction. With the rise of the industrial era, the role of numbers became even more pronounced. Industrial output, production volumes, and growth rates turned into symbols of national success. Reports of progress were used as proof that the chosen political and economic path was correct. Growth in factories and infrastructure was presented as undeniable evidence of strength. At the same time, negative data about inefficiency, shortages, or social problems was often ignored or softened. In many countries, statistics were collected locally and then adjusted at higher levels so as not to damage the overall picture. Numbers increasingly served not as a mirror of reality, but as an edited version of it. In totalitarian and authoritarian systems, the gap between figures and reality became especially wide. In closed societies, honest statistics could be dangerous. Data on poor harvests, mortality, industrial accidents, or economic failures was frequently hidden or rewritten because it could be interpreted as sabotage or disloyalty. Responsibility for negative indicators was often shifted onto individuals rather than the system itself. Under these conditions, numbers stopped being a way to identify problems and became a mechanism of self-protection. They reflected not what was happening, but what was supposed to be happening according to official expectations. Planned economies played a crucial role in reinforcing this logic. When fulfilling the plan mattered more than real outcomes, numbers were adjusted to match predetermined targets. Economic growth, production output, and indicators of well-being were shaped in reports to demonstrate stability and control. Even when actual conditions contradicted these reports, statistics were expected to confirm success. As a result, truth in numbers began to be perceived as a threat. Honest data could lead to inspections, punishment, or political consequences, making it safer to report the desired result rather than the real situation. During the Cold War, statistics fully transformed into an element of propaganda. Numbers were used as evidence of the superiority of one system over another. Indicators of economic growth, living standards, and prosperity became tools in ideological competition. Inconvenient data was suppressed, while favorable figures were emphasized and repeated. Statistics ceased to function as an internal analytical tool and instead became an external argument aimed at both domestic populations and foreign audiences. In this context, numbers served persuasion rather than understanding. Even after the end of global ideological confrontation, the practice of hiding data did not disappear. In a number of modern authoritarian states, statistics on unemployment, poverty, inflation, and demographics are published only partially or revised retroactively. Independent sources of information are either absent or heavily restricted. In some cases, data stops being published altogether to avoid comparisons and scrutiny. Official figures still exist, but their transparency steadily declines, allowing governments to maintain an image of stability even when reality does not match the reports. When transparent data becomes unavailable, an economy begins to exist without reliable numbers. External analysts are forced to assess conditions indirectly, relying on satellite imagery, energy consumption, and import and export flows. Reality is reconstructed not from official statistics, but from traces of economic activity. This highlights just how far official data can drift from what is actually happening. Social indicators are often the most sensitive area. Data on poverty, mortality, migration, and demographics directly reflects human lives and therefore poses the greatest risk to a state's image. Manipulating these figures helps preserve the appearance of stability and control. The more people are hidden behind the numbers, the more dangerous the truth becomes. As a result, these indicators are the ones most frequently adjusted, softened, or kept out of public view. Over time, when official data consistently fails to match everyday experience, numbers lose credibility. A visible gap emerges between reports and reality, one that becomes apparent even without analysis. People stop treating statistics as a source of knowledge and begin to see them as a formality. At that point, numbers no longer explain the world. They stop helping people understand what is happening and instead begin to mask it.